What's good, Doxaholics? My name is Rorvis Paradox, aka Dox Brando, and I would like to welcome you all to another installment of Rorvis Reviews. This episode is going to be a special one. Moving forward, I came up with the idea of when certain months come around, I should make an episode that kind of based on those types of months. For example, March is Women's History Month, so therefore I thought this episode for Woman King and Shirley as the movies I'm reviewing made perfect sense. This is also a double dip because I didn't do anything for Black History Month, so what better way to make up for it than an episode for two Black women at the forefront of their respective films. Remember to hit that notification bell so you don't miss when videos drop. Also follow me on IG at DocsBrando25 to stay up to date. Now with all that being said, let's get into it. Now the first film I want to talk about is 2022's The Woman King, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. This film had me lost for words, honestly. Gina created such a spectacle by wasting no shots in this film. This film is about Naneska, a female general for an all-female warrior group known as the Ajoy, and their mission of protecting the African kingdom of Dahomey in the 1800s. And let me tell you about the Ajoy real quick. They are no joke. If you thought the Dori Majai from Black Panther, the badass bald women, if you thought they were cold, the Ajoy might be the coldest women group I've ever seen on film, in my opinion. In all facets, they are phenomenal. When it comes to their use of melee weapons, the Ajoy are cold as fuck. When it comes to hand-to-hand combat, they are cold as fuck. When they use guns, they are cold as fuck. Are you seeing the picture that I'm painting for you about these women? These women are just like that. And these women were vicious on the battlefield. Not just on an individual level, the teamwork from these women was superb. These fierce women were known throughout Africa, but what came with that is being only allowed to be a warrior if they chose this path. That was their only role. That was their only identity. Once they chose this path and once they were accepted, they couldn't have the opportunity to be wives. They couldn't have the opportunity to bear children. Their only purpose was to defend their people and train more potential Ajoy. And yet, they were fine with that. Being Ajoy was a huge honor to them. It meant that they were the baddest of the bad, the toughest of the tough. And that included being tougher than a lot of men. These men either being their enemies or, men from the same kingdom. But becoming a Ajoy is not an easy task. It takes rigorous amounts of training. And even with all that training, if the training failed the trial, they would not become a Ajoy. They are a tough group, but they are outnumbered by other tribes that see them as enemies. That's all I wanted to say about the film without spoiling it. Now it's time for the highlights. First and foremost, the storyline had me hooked. From the opening narrative giving the audience the foundation of the story, kind of like on some Star Wars type shit with how it's kind of like scrolls down, but it doesn't just like scroll down and you're just reading it. You have a narrator that's reading it off to you, and that person's doing an excellent job as well. But like I said, it does a great job of setting the foundation of the story. The twists and turns of the film had me truly invested in each character, and I was actually worried about what was going to happen to these characters. I really felt like I felt for them, honestly, like it really hit like genuine emotion for me seeing some of these characters and what happens to them. Like for example, like seeing how commanding Naneska was on screen and how she respected, not only by the people of Dahomey, but by King Gezo himself. King Gezo doesn't just respect her as a warrior, but values her insight as well. A major highlight was the fight choreography for sure, and that was choreographed by stunt coordinator Danny Hernandez. For 4 months, the cast had to train for 3.5 hours of fight training that included running, martial arts, and working with swords and spears. And they did that for 4 months every single day, and it definitely shows. And that's with me bringing up the training and how every fight scene was amazing. And especially from the women who were playing the Ajoy, they were flying around the battlefield like they were Rey Mysterio at times. It was just impressive to see. Every fight meant something to me, and I was just locked in on screen, during every single battle scene. With me giving props to the fights, I must also highlight the workout regimen coordinated by trainer Gabriella McLean. During the 4 months the cast was training with Danny, they also trained with Gabriella for 90 minutes a day. The training results were great because everyone looked imposing. Viola Davis has never looked so good and threatening at the same time. She truly embodied a character that should be feared by her enemies and respected by her people. Speaking of Viola Davis, I must tell you all about her performance as General Nesca. Not, I'm not gonna lie to you. Then this might be a hot take, but this is one of my favorite performances from her. She has plenty of other roles that highlights her talents and her range, but this is my favorite as of right now. She was able to show a lot of range in this role. You know, she was able to express so much pride, pain, sorrow, and trauma in this one role. Seeing her in action was just a breath of fresh air as well. Her fight scenes were so memorable to me, especially the final fight scene that she gets. That fight means something to me, not just because of how great it was, because it definitely is great, but what it meant to her character and the story. Um, Now, my second favorite performance is from Lashana Lynch as Ngozi. Lashana's range in this film was fun to see. She could be this ruthless warrior in one moment, a hero to the people in another, and be a big sister to her fellow Joey. And it was just, I really enjoy watching her character interact with others. Um, Now, the last performance that I want to highlight from this film is Teso Mabedu as Nawi. She was able to portray such a fiery, spirited youth that wanted to prove her worth to the Joy and not be treated as property by a man. Thuso was excellent at portraying such a brash character, but definitely had moments that show more layers to Nawi's character. With all that being said, I'm going to give this film a 4.5 stars. This was an exceptional film that I highly recommend to others. Now, the last film I want to talk about is 2024's Shirley, directed by John Ridley. Now, this film was actually way better than I expected, but I should have known better. When you have Regina King, Terrence Howard, and the late great Lance Reddick all in one film, it must be good. The film is about Shirley Chisholm, the first black congresswoman who made the decision to run for president in 1972. Now, this is a biographical drama, so spoiler alert, she does not become president. But what the film did do was show her journey during the 1972 campaign. Before I get too far deep into talking about the film, I want to talk about the director just for a quick second. I was not familiar with his name at first, but after doing some research about the films he has worked on, I should have known his name and I should have been more well versed with his knowledge. Really loves working on historical based films and with writing and or directing films such as 12 Years a Slave, Red Tails, and Jimmy All by My Side. His passion for these types of films is throughout this whole project. Now, with all that being said, to give that man his flowers to really understand, the type of person who's at the reins with this movie, let's get back to talking about it for a quick second. And I loved how the film starts off impactful with the statistics of the time period. If you didn't know, in 1968, there were about 435 elected representatives of the House of Congress. 11 were women, 5 were black, but none of them were black women until Shirley came along. After being shown the statistics, the next scene is, Shirley standing on the steps of the state capitol for a photo op, and she's surrounded by other men. Not other men. She is surrounded by just men, and it's literally just her, whole bunch of white men, maybe like 2 or 3 black men in the picture as well. And I think this scene spoke volumes. Like, it really showed, she was the first of her kind, in the sense of being the first black woman to be in this role. And there's a sense of dual identity already being shown in this one scene. And I think it's just impactful because, from this one step, she is just changing history as we know it. She's a trailblazer just from this one thing. And I thought that was really cool. I was able to get that idea from that moment and just the whole film of how Shirley was, what Shirley was like. And that's because Regina King did a great job portraying her. Shirley was a powerful, fiery woman, and she meant what she said, and she stayed true to her morals and her faith. And with Regina, who is known for roles where she takes no shit from anyone, she was just perfect for this casting for this film. Regina was just fantastic as the lead role for this film. She had the burden of carrying this film on her back. From how she performed, I would say, in my opinion, the weight of the film was like feathers to her. Um, Not to continue on about the film, um, Shirley didn't take shit from anyone just like Regina, and that even includes people who were higher than her as well. When she was tasked with, an agricultural bill as her first assignment, she fought to be put on a bill that was more focused on things that she was already well versed in, as well as her background as a New Yorker. Um, Her argument was that why would a city person like her waste time on something she is not passionate about, as well as not well informed on? Why would you put someone in this predicament? It makes no sense. And I loved learning that she fought for this against this, because when everyone else was telling her to just pay her dues, fall in line, this is what everyone does. Everyone got to do something stupid of this nature. She pushed for what she believed was right. And in the film, I get one of my favorite quotes to describe her, and it comes from a dinner where an MC is introducing her, and her husband states that the MC said that she was 100 pounds of nuclear energy, and that is a perfect description of what Shirley was like. She was strong-willed and she was steadfast in what she thought was right. And if you weren't on board, you got left or got ran over. It was just that point blank. And she didn't like what you said, she'll tell you right then and there. So we have a strong-willed, educated black woman running for president of the United States in 1972. The uphill battle she was facing was clear as day, but she never blinked. I mentioned that she always stuck by her morals, and this included how she maneuvered in politics. She was a Democrat, but she had some conservative views, and her team tried to get her to kind of tone it down or not really speak on those conservative views to get more support for she be able to like move forward. But in Shirley fashion, she did what she thought was right, and that was being honest to the people. She also didn't like backdoor politics. She liked to be very upfront with um the things she was trying to get done, as well as because she didn't want to try to swindle or lie her way to get to the top. Now, that's all I want to say about the film. I know I said it's a historical film and I don't really need to like do this, but again, I think it's a film that y'all should check out for yourself, where you really get the grasp of the story, because again, it's a drama, so it adds on to it. But the story is great and something y'all should experience as well. So right now it's time to get into the highlights. One of the best highlights from the film is Regina King. She's the clear standout with this performance. It was amazing seeing her take the reins for such a role, and she never once folded. Lance and Terrence did great jobs supporting in their roles, but Regina, she just really knocked this role out of the park. I don't know who else could have played Shirley, but I know one thing is for sure: I don't think anyone could did it better than Regina. The film was shot well, besides the obvious CGI state capitol very early in the film, which really worried me for a second. Everything else kind of fell into place. Lastly, how the story was told is definitely a highlight. It was well paced, it was never rushed. For a film that's barely over 2 hours, it doesn't really overstay its welcome. It didn't feel like a chore watching this. I was really intrigued from the moment it kind of started. It got me. It really did. And with that being said, I have to give this movie at least 4 stars. Surely it's something I think a lot of people should check out, especially people that are kind of into the more biographical type films. Now I want y'all to know that I chose to review these films not just because it was for Women's History Month, not just to make up for Black History Month. I truly did choose these films because I was inspired to. As someone who knows the history of African Americans in this country, as someone who understands African American history in film, I was inspired by the excellent performances from these beautiful, talented women of color. The Woman King was impactful to me because it not only had Black women in the forefront, but these women executed their tasks at hand to perfection. They were fierce but elegant at the same time. They were able to portray Black women in a way that doesn't really happen too often, especially for Black women, with like kind of based on historical facts. Now, some people have stated that things in the film have some historical inaccuracies. But my rebuttal is, who cares? I got to witness black women being badass for 2 hours, and I would love to see more films like this. Representation matters, and black children, especially young black girls, should be able to see women who look like them in films like these. Uh, in the case of Shirley, I was inspired because I never knew of her until this film. And that sounds crazy, but she is not someone I ever remember hearing about in school. But that goes along with, certain states and what they choose is important for history. In this case, MLK, Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X. And that's all I got. So once I wish I would learn more about her on my own now as an adult, and that's probably something I'll probably do more research on. But that's neither here nor there. Um, it's a shame that someone of her stature, who has truly represented everything good and just about this country, never gets her flowers that she deserves. But she's getting those flowers from me today. Now I have to ask y'all, do you agree with what I said about these films? Have you seen these films and have a different opinion? If so, please drop all these types of comments below. I would love to hear them, and we can have more discussions and build upon them. Just remember to subscribe to help your boy out if you haven't already. Remember to share with others so more people can join the party. And I truly appreciate y'all support, and I love y'all for it. Thank y'all so much for watching, listening, whatever y'all doing. And I'll see you again for another Rorvis Reviews. Peace.